Let's talk pricing. So how much does it cost to go through a zombie transformation? There isn't a single one-size-fits-all price that I could give you because each car is different. Each customer's expectations and goals are going to be unique. The amount of work, of course, will vary car to car. But what we can do is take a look at some of the individual component prices and an example of a car, and that should give you an idea of what to expect and whether or not you'd like to even engage in this process with us. So let's start by taking a look at the motors and controllers and the battery pack in the Zombie 222. So the Zombie 222 is DC powered. It's running a pair of 11-inch DC motors and a pair of ultra-high powered controllers. That motor and controller configuration is around $18,000. Now that's not the installation, but that's the cost of the motors and controllers and the computer boards to drive it and the wiring, etc. The battery pack. The Zombie 222 runs an 18 kilowatt hour, I call it a short range, ultra high powered battery pack. So it's got 40 to 50 miles on the street, but it unleashes the very fires of hell itself on earth when you throw the pedal down at a red light or at the quarter-mile track, or if you want to go do the Texas half mile or the mile. So I do drive it around town. It's not something I would take on a long trip, obviously. The battery pack that's in this car, 18 kilowatt hours of ultra high power, lithium polymer prismatic pouch, was $35,000. So that gives you a sense of batteries and then the motors and controllers. Suspension, brakes, rear end, all of that stuff, that's all very standard stuff where it's just the the materials and labor. So that would give you a sense of just the component costs on this car. So let's use this car as an example. You bring us a vintage Mustang. You say, man, I want a Zombie 222. Let's just go. What you have is what I want, okay? Assuming the car did not need restoration, what you're going to be looking at is around $125,000 out the door to give you a Zombie 222 and a good, clean, doesn't need restoration vintage Mustang. Now let's switch it around and say, what if we'd used AC instead of DC? That motor costs and controller costs of $18,000 would have gone up to around $38,000 for as close to apples as you can get on an AC twin motor, AC twin inverter setup. Let's assume that you wanted longer range and you were willing to give up just a little bit of your 0 to 60 in your track times because of the additional weight. Let's say you want 100 miles. So you're looking at a 40 to 50 kilowatt hour battery pack for 100, 125 miles, depending on how you drive it. You're probably looking at a $60,000 battery at that point. So that gives you a sense of how you could expect costs to come in. So a Zombie 222 in AC with a longer range battery would be north of $150,000. Now, can you build a car, a cool car, a fast car, for less than $125,000? Sure. Not everything has to be a 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds, 9-second quarter-mile car. But again, it's going to be components and batteries, the drivetrain and batteries that drive the majority of it. Obviously, the less aggressive you get on the car, the less suspension upgrades needed, the less aggressive braking system needed. It would be possible to get a very aggressive, cool car, vintage car, for $75,000 to $80,000. Sure. It's just not going to be a Zombie 222. It's going to be something that's a Zombie, but not quite on the level of a 222. Let's talk about the model, the pricing model itself. So here's what we do. You ship us the car after we've agreed and talked and emailed and had all kinds of great conversations. We'll assess the car. We won't touch it as far as taking it apart or anything until we've agreed that we want to do the car and that you want us to do the car. We'll have reached our price, and then we'll go down that process. That's a 50% deposit. Then we'll agree on a milestone that proves we're delivering what we say we will. That, upon completion, would be another 25%, and then we hold back the last 25% to look at as the wrap-up, so for delivery. That's how the pricing model works. We take the parts. The large dollar items are typically the invoice price plus 15%. That handles our research, investigation, figuring out how to install it, etc., returns. And then the labor is a flat labor rate. And if you want to do a change order midstream, it's not a problem. Let's say that you decide you want to upgrade the seats. It's going to be the seat cost plus 15% and the flat labor rate to install it. It really is that simple. So we would just work with you throughout the process if you decide you want to add things to the build out. And that's not unusual. A lot of times once you get started and you start really thinking about what it's going to be like to own a Zombie, you start going, yeah, I think I do want some better seats, or I want a fancier wheel, or better, rims, those kind of things. But that's basically the way we look at it and how we deal with pricing and everything. I hope that helps. Thanks.